Okay, we're gonna get ready to get this thing started. Let me look at this. All right. So we will, one, I want to say thank you to I know we're coming to the end of the year. I just want to say thank you, board, for your commitment. We've had a lot going on this year. And thank you for continuing to show up and be fully engaged. So again, thank you. Happy holidays. All right, so let's call this meeting to order. Let's go roll call. District 1, Vice Chair Jerry Lee.
Present.
District 2, Dr. Samuel Valmet. District 3, Ms. Diane Easter. Present. District 4, myself, Felicia Harrell, Chair, present. District 5, Ms. Jasmine Willingham.
Present.
And our tax commissioners appointees, Mr. Nicholas Craig,
Present.
Mr. Lee Kelly, absent. And our clerk of Superior Court selected alternate member, Dr. Erica Pike.
Present.
And then we have a vacancy. All right. Thank you, Natalie. Well, I'll do nothing. Let's get to our first order. What are we doing? Approval of board minutes. Can I get a motion to approve our board minutes?
I make a motion to approve board minutes from November 18, 2025. Second.
All in agreement? May I? Yes. All right, we're gonna move over to item C, general updates by our ethics administrator.
Hey, good evening, board.
Good
Just have a few updates. All the signs have been put up. We got the new sign put outside. I'm sure you saw that on your way in. All the signs that were requested for authorized personnel only have been put up. If anybody has any questions about that. Our Salto access, if you go to the first email in your packet, was the response from county manager, Gary Hobb Matthews. So I don't know, at this point, we're just waiting for board commissioners to, I guess, make a decision on the access to our office.
Let's make sure to these offers access for law and the board commission has no objection to allowing. It seems like maybe there's an understanding that the Board of Commissioners has no objection to allowing access to employees within the following departments. Our request was for public safety, IT, facility maintenance. They've added county leadership. We're just not understanding why county leadership needs access to the Board of Ethics offices because we want to keep that safe and separate. But they also said they're not going to have, the commissioners won't have access, and then the county manager won't have access. So I'm just curious why we're still giving access to county leadership. For those of you who don't know, we have new signs. We have one outside, we have one on every door in this building because we had a breach. And it was from a county leadership. They bypassed all the means of which they could have contacted someone to have access and to make an appointment for access. And they also went past a door in our office that was shut. And so we're just wanting to have some sort of privacy and confidentiality and protect that. Some new locks have been added on the door, but we're just not wanting every department in this county to have access to our office space. As it stands, as it's listed here, the police chief gets to determine who has access to his building, and the county administration building, the county manager determines who has access to that building. We're just needing clarification, and I guess we'll go through legal to figure out how we can get it sorted out. Are there any questions, objections, ideas?
I guess really for me, I think we just need to define who is county leadership.
And why they have access. And that was my whole concern is if they can tell us why they need access, the importance of it, then we more than likely wouldn't object. But just to say every blanket department in this county and just walk in here when they feel like it just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't give us the protections I feel we need for our files. Anything else pertaining to that?
Would you like me to reach out and clarify what county leadership what they mean, or would you like?
Let me talk to board council, and board senior council about this. Because that's been doing this like now for what, over a month? Back and forth on this one.
In our hearing space, security that's all in place. So right now, the Superior Court here in our county, all of the courts I've reached out to state court, out to Superior Court, they're all pretty busy in January. The date that was available for Superior Court was the 5th, but I think counsel for that respondent is not available that day. So that date is not going to be. I reached out to the Mercer. They have a classroom set up. And we need to fill out like a request form, and then they would have to get back to us. Problem with Mercer is they do not have security. So we would have to in turn turn around and hire a part-time police officer and do security for us if we were to do the Mercer. But they're more of a classroom setup, so I don't think that that was for us. I've reached out to Spalding County. They have no availability right now. They just added another judge, and they're having issues with court because they don't have the front. So Spalding County is out. I reached out to Butts County. They can accommodate us. If you look at the second document in your packet, it's the availability that they have for us to borrow one of their courtrooms. Those are all the dates that they have available as of right now for January, February, and so if the board would look over those and maybe pick a couple of those, so I have to get with respondents counsel, plus I have to get with hearing officer and the court board.
So let's clarify what we're doing right now. So you, Henry County, we're now. So after our last hearing, we've not been allowed to book that room again. We're not being allowed to book it in the evenings. We're not being allowed to book it in the daytime. And so now we've been put to the courts. The courts are busy. I think there's a new judge, so one of the courtrooms that would have been available to us isn't available to us because of that. And because our county isn't accommodating us in the way that we need, we are having to reach out to other counties and perhaps rent space because we won't stop hearings. That just won't happen. So we won't stop hearings even if I gotta have it in the backyard with the microphone and spotlight. So as far as Henry County, right now we're having to reach out to the local colleges, correct?
That's correct.
Mercer University, as well as Southern Crescent. Have we got?
Not heard back from Southern Crescent.
Is there a fee to rent the space at Mercer?
As of right now, she said there is not a fee. But again, I think the setup is what's gonna be the problem.
Okay.
It's more of a classroom.
So we know we don't know if they have projections or cameras or
So
set.
right now, I don't know any of that. We just kind of went into the process of what we would have to fill out an application, and the dates would be limited as well. So right now.
So right now, we're told we can't have the county community room that we would normally have our hearings in because we're waiting for the commissioners and the chair to finalize their 2026 calendars. Because we're waiting for them to finalize their calendar, obviously we can't stop hearings, so we've asked for space in the evening. We were told, can I have the space in the evening because that is relegated for whom again? Only 2 boards are allowed.
Only 2 boards are allowed. And
We're not sure why we're not one of those boards that are allowed, because technically we should be. And for whatever protocol they're taking would be the same protocol we would take to have our meetings or our hearings in that same space. So we're still, again, working through legal counsel advice on how to move forward because the county can't shut us out of hearing space. They just can't. It's just literally in the law, they can't. This doesn't look good for our county, but at the same time, we can't stop our hearing process. So we're now looking at Butts County, until we can situate and our, issues with legal counsel, to get back into the spaces here in Henry County. So dates that are available, I understand legal counsel for the respondent isn't available on January 5th.
That's correct. Yes.
So Butts County, what are they charging us to come in? Thank God, 20th of January. If you guys can take a look at your calendars,
I know the 20th and the 21st, I'm not
you're not available. So then we're down to the 29th. We're gonna see if we can get some additional dates prior to the 29th, from
Yeah.
somewhere
Yeah, there's, well, I mean, they got dates into February and March.
before the 29th.
That's all they have.
See what we can get in Mercer. We just gotta figure out how we're gonna stream. So that's the other thing. The community space in the county administration building has the streaming capabilities for our meetings to be seen by the public. And shuts us out from access and giving the public access, to seeing and recording those meetings. So we're just gonna figure out how we're gonna do it. And how we can stream, if we have to buy new streaming equipment to use in another location, we may have to look at the budget for how to remedy that issue. So let's circle back and see what we can shake loose somewhere else in January. And if anyone knows they're not gonna be available on a certain day, if y'all can just send that over to the Glory Falls. Thank you all.
In getting surveillance camera for the front door. With IT is supposed to be getting a home tomorrow, we're supposed to meet at 9. He's got to look at some things, I guess. And we're going to be getting a support to see how much that's going to.
Any questions about that?
We have an alarm in the building.
We-
Are we allowed to have an alarm?
We're going to have to reach out to probably IT. I would have to reach out to IT.
And the camera system, the recording, where is that going to?
I
Or
don't
who? Okay.
I don't know anything until Keith comes tomorrow. We're gonna be at 9 o'clock. They have to see about a network cable.
Okay.
And I'm guessing to see if it's even possible to put one over here.
Okay.
I would imagine camera system would have some kind of backup somewhere. Only we would have access to, but I don't know that that's gonna be maybe an issue because it's gonna be a county network. So I really won't know anything more concrete until I meet with Keith tomorrow.
So right now, as it stands, we're having to use surveillance from the building surrounding us. Our initial request for surveillance was denied, but we're coming back around and thank God they're actually responding positively, I hope.
Next update is the job posting for the contract ethics system. If you look at your packet, it'll be the next document. That is an email that I got. I kind of went back and forth between a couple of different people. I had to submit like a request to post the job. And they directed me to Ms. Rogers, Ms. Victoria Rogers. She said that they do not advertise for contract position. So I just emailed her back and said, well, who do I need to speak with just to get that approved and put on the website? She directed me to Holly. And something said that they do not post positions on the county website if the position is approved, vacant and funded. currently the Board of Ethics has no vacancies. If you plan to hire a contracted person, you will need to have that processed and approved through finance. So then I reached out to Ms. Bermuda Campbell, who is the finance director. And I just said, can you tell me how to go about getting the process started to hire on a contract basis for an ethics officer? One of that's Dave. And that is her response in that email. So as of right now, we have not been able to post the position on the county website. So I don't know if at this point the board would like to stem away from posting on the county website and possibly posting it on Indeed or like another job website. Because at this point, they're not going to post that for us.
So the job posting we're looking to post is a contract position to recuse our ethics officer. In case there are any conflicts of hearings or complaints that come before the board, and we need her to step aside as the investigating party. So this is a contract as needed, just like our hearing officer. It is literally only as needed. So how do we get our hearing officer? How do we procure him? We just reach out to different attorneys.
Yeah, I mean, that
Yeah.
was secure. We kind of did some research and just reached out to him and we had a meeting, board interviewed him, came here, went through an interview, did background checks
You know that.
and everything on him. So
So it looks like we may, what are your opinions, board, moving forward?
We thought about using LinkedIn.
it's up to the board now. I hadn't thought about it, but
So you're okay with social platforms like Indeed and LinkedIn for posting this position? Okay.
Yeah.
the last update I have is just the like chair was thinking about the portable camera system for the counties that you can't have. It's camera that he said would possibly work, but he said he was gonna demonstrate that.
Do it live or
Sure, yeah, that's fine.
see if I can share it.
First of all, where is the camera?
Oh, it's,
On your
oh, I
computer?
have one in my car, but like, I just have a presentation of it.
Oh, okay. Oh, we watch your presentation.
Oh. Let me share it outside. So. let's see. Cool. Whoa, but it's not supposed to look like that. Here we go. Just a very plain presentation. So I was asked to kind of take a look at a couple of camera options. One is the Mevo Cam, which is I'm familiar with, and the other one was the Owl Labs, which is kind of similar to the setup you guys have here. So I kind of did like a mini presentation on both. So right here, you have, these are like pretty much glorified webcams. One is called a Mevo Start, the other one's just called a Mevo Core. And they're pretty much just as you see here, the difference is that they do live streaming. I'll go over this here in a minute. So they both can do HD and up at 4K. They are both controlled by the mobile apps. You have the Mevo Camera, Mevo Go, and the Mevo Multicam, which you can connect multiple cameras to. Or it's controlled by a computer application. It's good for your Zoom meetings, WebEx, Teams, etc. And you can have multiple camera angles synced up to just one viewing to a live stream, and you can kind of go back and forth. Since you guys do a lot on YouTube, you can of course go to YouTube or even Facebook, and you can do it simultaneously. So, like I said before, you do have the option for multi-angle viewing. The good thing is that these do operate wirelessly, so you can connect them via Wi-Fi. You don't have to have a cord on it. They do have about 6 hours of life on each one. The difference is with the cord being a higher powered camera, you have up to 6 hours in 4K. The other one is just the Mevo Start. It's just 1080p, just your basic webcam. They can hook up to different mounts. So you have a tabletop mount, you have what's called a Pro Split, which is just a single stand. Of course, a traditional camera mount. It is powered by USB-C, which is just can connect to a traditional PC or a Mac. It does have the option for a micro SD card. So if you guys needed to do anything offline or bench anything, that didn't require cable like in a pinch, this is pretty good to have. As far as I know, you can connect up to 3 cameras simultaneously to it. It does have the possibility for more if you need to have more angles. You can, but it depends on the connectivity of your phone. So, or whoever's controlling the device. So, here are the starting prices. The Mevo Core starts at $899. The Start at $359. Then the Mevo Start 3-pack, which is just 3 tiny cameras, which is your 1080p cameras, they start off at $1149. And this is what's in the box. Got your camera lenses, your cables for both, and it's just a pretty standard webcam for, that's not mounted on a computer or anything. It's just pretty versatile for whatever use they are. Pretty portable. Now this is your Owl Labs. I like this a little bit more. This is a lot similar to what we all currently. So it's pretty much how we have it set up here with the Logitech. Is pretty much an Owl device, except you can have it on a tabletop or wall mounted. You have options for either. It's capable up to 4K streaming and audio recording. You can stream live to the simultaneous sites. You can record. You can record audio and video. It works in tandem with other Owl devices as well, be USB-C or Bluetooth. And the good thing is that it has an omnidirectional camera. So if you put one in the center of the table, like how you guys are, it can pick you guys up individually and have individual angles on you. So it's actually really, really nice. And it uses AI in order to kind of separate each speaker and pick each one up. It's kind of like a really smart 360 view camera. It's really nice. So these are your devices. So the one in the center, that's white, that's your Owl 3. And the one directly next to it is called your Whiteboard Owl. Then you have your Owl 4 Plus. And then down below you have your Owl Bar, which looks like what we have down here. So that's, I like the lights. It kind of looks like an owl. And these are your prices. The Owl 3 starts at $10.99. The Owl Bar is at $14.39. The 4 Plus is at $19.99. That's $2,000. And then the Whiteboard is $5.99, which is $600. It's just kind of a quick overview of what you guys were looking at. Just, pretty simple, quick. So this is what I put together. questions, concerns?
Microphones, you mentioned that the owl picks up audio,
Yes.
but for clear, crisp audio, do we need additional microphones?
You can attach additional microphones via a micro HDMI cord. It's kind of a very specific use, but you can. How the setup is here in the current conference room is exactly how an owl can work. Now, the good thing about these owl 3 and 4 pluses is you can sit them directly in the center of the table. And it has an omnidirectional mic and it does pretty good. The good thing is if you have a quieter speaker, like if someone is a little bit quieter in volume, it can pick up and bring up their volume a little bit to make it louder on whoever's on the listening end, if that makes sense. So you do have options for external mics, or you can just use the onboard.
So I have a question, because we're talking about getting this for our hearings. We would be in a much bigger space, I would hope. Would it still be able to pick up everything?
Yeah, if it's in a more intimate setting like how everyone is now, this is actually, I think, a pretty good option. Now, if you're in a much bigger setting, like in the boardroom, or something like that, the Mevo might be a little bit better because you can move the cameras around. You have a wider angle, and with the applications that are on board, you can finite them and control them a little bit more. This is more of a smart device that'll pick up and view everybody, and it's kind of just sit down, start the meeting and go. Whereas the Mevo, you have a little bit more control. I'm going to zoom in here. I want to bite it there. On this last camera, I need to be able to view the other side, and you can view different angles from the applications that they have. So it just depends on whatever your uses are. It may be that you might need both, one for a meeting in a certain place, and then when you need to go on the go in for the community setting. So it just depends what you need and how versatile you need to be in it. That was good for something like this. The Mevo would be better for if you need to move around and get something.
Would it be similar to adding these sort of microphones as well, or would we need different types?
You mean for the Mevos compared to the Owls?
Mm-hmm.
For the Mevo, the Mevo Start, which is the flatter camera. Actually, this might be a better picture. The one to the left, that's your Start. On the top, it actually does have microphones, but it's not gonna be, you can put in an additional microphone in the back to kind of separate it around the room, but it's gonna be limited as far as how big your space is, if that makes sense. It's gonna pick up a lot of room noise. If there isn't like a good directional voice, it's not gonna pick up very well. The core, which is the box to the right, is gonna be a little bit better, and you can attach additional microphone, but it's not gonna be. The only downside I see to these options is that if it's gonna be in a bigger setting, i.e. the community room for something like that, it may be good at picking up visual, but the audio is probably gonna suffer a little bit. So if it's in something a little bit smaller, that's gonna be better. It'll pick up great, but the audio is probably where you're gonna have a downfall.
So we're gonna be larger spaces because we have to allow as many public viewers that would want to attend. What sort of microphones would we need to attach to either of those systems? Well, the Mevo cameras. Look at you. I know you did. And then before you answer that question.
Yeah.
Automation, because we're gonna have 3 different angles if we're using 3 different cameras. And we're gonna have, the audience, the folks, responding or presenting information, and of course, then the board members themselves. If we're sitting in the center or far end, of course, you won't be able to zoom into each individual board member, but how do you cut from one camera to the other? Is there some automated, or are we just gonna have the 3 angles on camera at the same time always?
So on the Mevo multicam app, which you can control via a tablet like an iPad or a phone, you can control them wirelessly and they all connect to the same device, if that makes sense. So, for example, if I like the setup that you were talking about, you can connect each Mevo to like a power source. And then via the phone, via the app, you can see each individual angle and make sure they're all good to go, stream to the same sites that you want to go, Facebook simultaneously, YouTube simultaneously. You can all do that from one single place, which is really nice and it's very convenient.
Yeah, because we would need to automate it since if, in case we don't have staff to man the camera angles. Okay.
With something like that, it should be pretty easy. I've used it before during the election board meetings, and it's been pretty convenient. You can pretty much move to wherever you need to. You can connect multiple ones, and as soon as you end the meeting, if you have another one, just bring it up, make sure they all talk. And that's pretty much it.
Okay. And then microphones.
You get that.
Any microphone ideas?
That's the thing, with microphones, I'm not too savvy on it, and even if there were some, with microphones, it's gonna depend on your use. I'd rather give you a definite answer, because each one is gonna be, you have a cheap guy, and then you have your most expensive guy. And so you could always get a Rode, which is RHODE, which are good for onboard camera mics. And they have a wide range, but that's kind of like your mid to get into higher grade tier microphones.
And the most important question,
Uh-oh.
how much of this equipment already exists somewhere in a cabinet in the county where we can have access?
Well, other than here,
That's ours. We pay for that.
I know,
Really?
other than in here, it's gonna vary on department, to be honest. Each department has their own kind of setup.
Okay.
Not everyone has something just as unique and special as this. It's just gonna depend who has what, and I really don't know.
So it's departmental. It's not something that the IT department or maybe communications have
Yes.
available for on-site. Even so, when they have community events and they're needing cameras and photographers and video recording, do you guys have that equipment that's just owned by the communications department?
Usually
Yeah.
that,
I'm getting a head shake, yes?
yes,
Communications department.
Okay, so we could reach out to them and perhaps see what type of equipment we have.
yes,
And then we'll get Carlos to confirm whether or not it's good stuff.
sure,
Okay. Okay, please.
But communications definitely could be a good resource into kind of pointing you and leading you in the right direction for sure. I used to do this before I came here, so that's why I have familiarity with it. But it's been a while.
We don't have any money, Carlos, so we want whatever we can get for free first.
I can get you a bunch of iPhones.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
So at the airing, right, what that we're gonna be part of, in whatever capacity the building is going to be, are we positioning the cameras in different angles, right? That's the goal.
Our primary three angles will be the audience.
Mhm.
I say audience, y'all. I don't know any other way. I came from a television background. Okay, studio audience would be one. And then, of course, the folks presenting information, respondent and the ethics officer. And then, of course, it'll just be a wide angle of the entire board.
Okay.
But hopefully we'll have microphones so we can at least distinguish which board members are speaking.
Okay, so that begs to my question. I was wondering if they have the clip on microphone?
Those are lavalier mics.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was gonna say the laws. You heard me whisper that earlier.
that are, like used for
I was gonna
interviews.
give you brand names, sorry.
Yeah, so I was just wondering, to what capacity we would need them, because I know you were talking about, clipping them onto the cameras. So was it that we want to hear when someone comes up to speak at the desk, or is it just for us? And then that would kind of help give us an idea of,
Camera that is aimed towards those presenting, it could be close enough to pick up. And we can always test the audio to make sure we're hearing them clearly. Because you're right, we absolutely want to test the equipment first. And we can do that prior to the hearing actually starting. Yeah.
Where it gets tricky, where it gets a little bit more complicated is when you have multiple speakers. When you start getting multiple speakers and it doesn't pick up that well, that's where the microphone business gets more complicated. With lavalier mics, they're great for picking up an individual, but when you have 13 or 12 of them,
right,
you're gonna have 12 different channels and then you have to put them together
Yeah.
in a video. That's where it
Right.
gets.
And you hear all the
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And I like those, but clipping them and splicing them together, for potable strands is gonna be a little bit more complicated. It's doable.
Yeah.
Um,
I'd rather use something more like this, like a few of those
Yes.
along the way, would be, and then I don't know, some receiver, some intermediary, like, we'll talk about equipment later. And then we're gonna buy used equipment. We're not buying anything new.
well, there's definitely used equipment. It's not as bargain as you think though, but.
Oh, I know. I have some at home. Yeah.
You came from.
We can't talk about that right now. Yes, we can talk about that later.
Sorry.
Let's talk about that later.
So maybe the people who are presenting, maybe they could be the ones wearing the clip on when they do go.
And we can have those laying there for them to clip on, but because they're only that one single microphone, because of its proximity to the speakers, it may be okay.
Yeah.
Because that one camera's mic is strong enough to pick up those individuals standing
Yeah,
there.
that one I can do more research on the Mevo side and see how that works, but I think as far as the Mevo is concerned, it's meant for a semi-intimate close-up medium setting, like I think the ranges that I saw online was maybe between 15 to 20 feet. Unless you're in a loud music performance setting, then obviously the things are gonna be loud, but something kind of like this, it's gonna be a little bit trickier. We'd have to think
Carlos,
about it.
please stop saying something like this. This is small compared to our hearing. We need something like from here to all the way to the other side of this,
I'm thinking like.
Yeah, community center, like the room, community room. Think of that size.
Yeah, that's exactly what.
Okay, okay,
That's what I'm thinking in mind, because this is fine.
okay.
That wide is where I would think we would have some trouble. I'm sorry.
No, no,
I'm
no.
being honest with
Well, we want the community room, Everybody can put the prayer under the Christmas tree for that one.
hopefully, that kind of broke things out for you.
Thank you, sir.
This is.
That was all I had.
On item D, the general updates from the ethics officer.
Good evening, board. As it relates to general updates, we are going to focus on some case updates. I will give you all a whole overview of training updates at our next meeting in January to conclude the year. So you'll get all of that in January. For today, we're going to focus on general updates as it relates to cases. We have 4 pending probable cause cases that the board will address tonight. We have Tripp versus Morris and to be determined human resource employee. Tripp versus Morris and human resource employee to be determined. Smith versus Harrell and Doe versus Canty. So all of those are on the board's agenda to be addressed for tonight. We do have an update as it relates to one of the cases that has been under formal investigation, and that's Morrison versus Matthews and Johnson. And then we have one that is ready for a final hearing, that's Park versus Campbell. Any questions about our cases that we have before the board?
Okay.
No questions? We also have 2 cases that are pending continuation for a hearing as the board is aware. That's Tripp versus Morris and Whitaker and Tripp versus Holland, and you all discussed dates for that. So as soon as we get new dates, then we will go ahead and let the witnesses know, let the parties know, whatever that date may be. We do need to discuss the board's annual training. For those of you all that don't know, each year the Board of Ethics go through an annual training where we talk about the current rules and procedures, if there needs to be any amendments. There's a refresher on the code of ethics, similar to the county employees they have to take their refreshers. Our board takes refreshers too every year. And so we need to start looking at dates. I would prefer dates earlier in January. So as a board, you all can get together and see whether you want it in the evenings or if you want it on the weekends or whatever works for you all. Whatever works for you all, then that would be awesome if we can get together for some dates.
How long do you think we need? How
I
many
would
hours?
anticipate probably about 4 hours, so half a day.
So I guess when everyone submit any dates that are conflicts in January to Gloria, she will do a cross-reference for that as well.
And would you all prefer it to be on like a Friday later in the week or any preference of day?
I'm open to the weekend.
I'm open to the morning half of the weekend.
A Saturday morning?
I am as well.
Yeah.
All right, that seems to be a general consensus Saturday morning. So if you all can just send, I guess, Gloria, any Saturdays you are not available in January,
The second Saturday.
then that'd be wonderful. I did just return all last week. I was at the Society of Corporate Compliance and Ethics Training. This is a week-long training from Monday to Thursday. It was in Anaheim, California this year. In regards to ethics, not only ethics, but compliance as well. You have different organizations there, different Fortune 500 companies, you have smaller companies, you have government, you have HR, you have a lot of different auditors, a lot of different professions. The conference was really good this year. I will say this is the same conference we went to last year, and even though it was the same conference, I did learn different things. But about, I would say half of it was good refresher information. So for next year's training, I am going to start looking for somewhere else. I still really, really want a training that is more government focused, even though they provide different training in regards to how to conduct the investigations and tips and tricks on training and auditing and monitoring and compliance. Those things could be applicable to any program. So I was able to pull some good nuggets away that I want to implement in 2026. But I think I would have better nuggets if I had more specifically for government. I think that was the one that was they had out the country, wherever it was. So, Spain. So I'm gonna look for something local but can be more centrally focused on government. So all in all, it was a great conference, lots of ideas and lots of takeaways. Any questions?
Are you, so is it something that you will kind of give us like a rundown or a printout or something of, some of the nuggets that you received? Or is it just for you?
No, I called her daily. I got nuggets too.
Got a notebook of notes. I'm happy to sit down if you all want to go through it, talk about some ideas and things. I also got 2 full pages of 2026, what I want to see implemented. I will tell you just briefly, one of the things that I, as the ethics officer, want to focus on 2026 are our vendors and our third parties. They are required to do disclosures as well, but I think we can do a better job making sure that they have gotten some training and things of that nature. So one of my 2026 goals, which you will see all of them when we have the annual report that's due in February, but one of them is definitely to start coordinating more with the vendors and the third parties to make sure they have what they need and they're getting their training and properly filing conflicts and disclosures and things of that nature.
Define vendors and contractors.
If they are being contracted by.
No, I know, but for us, for those who don't know who those folks are, to services that our vendors, our particular vendors for this board, who are they?
For our board?
Yeah, because you're speaking to you're wanting to get more disclosures for us, for the vendors that we work with, or the vendors for the county?
For the county.
Okay, I just want a clarification. Okay, thanks.
It's the vendors for the county.
I was about to say, I thought we get everything on ours.
No, the vendors for the
Okay.
county, they also are bound by the code of ethics.
Okay.
And they already are notified that they have to take the training and file disclosures. However, one of the things that I learned would be a better practice is for them to have in their contract that they will abide by the code. So I really want to work with like procurement to kind of get in front of some things to be proactive. You all know my motto, proactive, not reactive.
Not reactive, for sure.
Any other questions? I wanted to give you all a case update in regard to Morrison versus Matthews and Johnson. One of the things that I am going to try to start doing is pursuant to our code says that there's three phases. There's the probable cause, there's the which is almost a preliminary investigation, there's an investigation, and then there's a hearing. And it's very little in between. So when I'm training the classes, I'm reminding people that after probable cause, or if the board finds probable cause, remember that standard is so low that it's very easy to accomplish to start a formal investigation. But I want to see how we can be more resourceful. And if there's things where I believe the board needs to see that could change the ethics officer's recommendation, whether it's a dismissal, that you see that before we have to pay a hearing officer and get a room and coordinate dates. So I'm going to see if there's a way we can start doing that ahead of time. This is one of those examples. I told you all at the last board meeting that this was ready for a formal hearing, but I wanted to present some updates that was found in the investigation. On July 8th, you all did have a meeting for probable cause, and you found probable cause against Ms. Matthews as well as Mr. Johnson for two things. One was failure to show impartiality, and the second was engaging in activity prohibited by law. For the new board members, all of the allegations stem from two major things. One was the installation of unauthorized emergency lights into the Mr. Kevin's county vehicle. In potential violation of the code. Mr. Kevin is the deputy county manager, and the allegation was that he had these lights in his vehicle and he should not have had lights in his vehicle. The second one was that Mr. Johnson was carrying a firearm within a county building, and the allegation was also that that was a violation of the law as well. The county manager, the allegation was because she may have signed off on these approved things as the supervisor of Mr. Johnson. If he was liable or it was alleged to be found in violation of the code, she may have too. And that's why both of them were indicated, well, it was indicated probable cause. Throughout my investigation, I did review Mr. Johnson's HR file. I inspected the vehicle myself. I actually went out there and looked at it. I looked at the permits, and then I also looked at the code, the law, to see what everything says in regards to the application of the allegations. I provided to you in your package a copy of some relevant documents that I pulled out. I do have a full copy of the whole HR file, but as it relates to the relevant documents, you will see that Mr. Johnson was offered the position of deputy county manager in August of 2024. Now, the interesting thing about this that I believe is unbeknownst to the complainant, and I did speak with the complainant recently, probably about 2 months ago, is that when he was offered the position of deputy county manager, it was negotiated and agreed upon that he could keep a director position as in the EMS department, which is the emergency maintenance department. The emergency management, thank you, I knew it, sorry. Emergency management department. He was the former emergency management director before taking the role of deputy county manager. And because he was the emergency management director, does have things like the post certification that have been valid and renewed each year. So that was negotiated. Now, part of his terms was that he would be given a county vehicle that would be assigned to him. In 2025, you'll see that's when the installation of the lights took place. So this is a copy of the fleet order where they actually installed the lights in Mr. Johnson's vehicle, and that was January of 2025. One of the questions and allegations was what type of lights were they? So initially, there was concern that they were blue lights, which is reserved, as you all know, for like police. So I inspected the vehicle to ensure that we're not blue lights. They are not blue lights. They are definitely red lights. Then I looked at the law to see what the law says about the use of those lights in general. And the commissioner is off, and this is the state commissioner, is authorized to allow the use of red flashing or revolving lights to any government agency if they demonstrate that there's a need for them. So there is law that substantiates it can be put on. I did get a copy of the application for the use of the lights. And so you can see that this is a copy of that application, and you have in your package as well, several things that was sent to the commissioners to justify why those lights were needed on that county vehicle of Mr. Johnson's. Any questions about the lights before I go on?
Mr. Lee. Ooh, I need that packet, let's see.
The next question was in regards to the firearm and government buildings. Now I did, look at post certifications and the procedures, the applications of that, but everything took me back to the statute. So once I reviewed the statute, which is before the board right now, it does allow for individuals to carry a gun in a government building so long as the building is open for business and is not restricted by screening personnel. As you all know, when you go in the admin building, you walk in. There's no screening system, there's no security system, whether you go in from the front, or you go in through the back as if you're going to the tax commissioner's office. And so because of that, the law does allow for there to be a person to carry a firearm in a government building. Now, after that, I looked at the policies and procedures of the county. And the county prohibited unless given authority by the county manager, essentially. And after reviewing, he was given authority to be able to carry a firearm throughout the building. So he was not in violation of policy, but more importantly, he wasn't in violation of the code by violation of law given this statute. I'm providing the board with this new information, so you'll have that in determining if the board feels like we need to move forward on a formal hearing to hear from both. I will tell you all, one of the concerns I had is in reviewing the documents, if you look at the application was entered into September of 2025, which is after this contract was filed. When I went to the code and I compared it, the code doesn't say that the lights can't be installed. The code says the lights can't be used. The allegations before the board was that the lights were installed inappropriately. But if we're reading the black letter of the law, you don't have an allegation that he actually used the light. So I don't believe that's right before the board to make a decision on whether or not he's in a violation of this code when it talks about just the usage and not the installation. There's no question it was installed. There's no question that he is still part of EMS, so he would have had some authority to get it installed on his personal vehicle. And it was later approved for usage, but we don't have allegations that it was used. Any other questions in regards to this case?
Just for clarification, on the second page, there's a justification for the red lights. That's one of the questions I had was there a justification issued for the usage of the lights, and it's in the second page.
Okay. So you're saying you got the answer to that question? Further questions, concerns, or discussions?
Like, let me ask, so again, it's clarity between usage of the lights, installing of the lights,
Correct.
right? And here we have just the installment of the lights, correct?
Correct.
And when was the complaint filed?
Complaint was filed. I can tell you probable cause was heard on July 8th.
And the request for the lights was January 7th.
Request?
No, the
No, the
request,
September.
September fifth.
September.
The request for the.
Oh, the request for the installation. Okay.
Any further questions?
So as it stands right now, where does it stand? Are we still going to hearing to allow for a request for dismissal? What's the process at this point?
That's where it's gray in the bill.
Okay,
And I would hate for it to have to go to hearing and subpoena everybody, all just for dismissal. But at this stage, based on my formal investigation and the information that was obtained, I would be recommending that they be a dismissal,
has there been a request for a dismissal received?
not at this time.
But you'll let us know once.
Yes, I will.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lost my agenda. There you go. Yourself, you want me to move on to the presentation of
Yes, ma'am.
proposal? Okay, you ready for that?
Yes, ma'am. So we have, probable cause Tamara Harrell Tripp versus Scott Morris and to be determined human resources board. This is 2025 EV 15. We do have personal jurisdiction over this matter as Mr. Morris is the DOT director. The allegations is that Mr. Morris failed to show impartiality in performing his official duties, that he disclosed or used confidential information, and that he misused his position. The factual allegations are as follows. On November the 12th, Mrs. Tripp attended a Board of Ethics meeting in which Mr. Morris presented a copy of her application for the Henry County Ethics Board. She alleges that Mr. Morris obtained and presented the document without her knowledge, consent, or any legitimate person. She alleges that he is not a hiring manager, human resource, or any authorized person that should have access to that application. She also questions the validity of how he obtained this information and the release of who released it to him. In my preliminary investigation, I did review the Georgia Open Records Act as well as the Georgia Privacy Act. I did also request for all Henry County public records request reference to this specific issue. I recalled and I reviewed the documents that was presented, and it showed that on November the 6th at 9:01, Mr. Morris made a request via the county's open records platform that is online. And he specifically requested the names and applications of all individuals who submitted applications to the Board of Ethics between June 1st and July 31st. The open records request went through its normal procedure and protocol, and ultimately it was fulfilled on November the 10th and included 27 applications. Those 27 applications did include an application of Ms. Tripp. I did reach out to Mr. Morris to discuss the matter, to inquire about the process in which he went about obtaining this information. But at that time, I was informed that he had retained counsel, and I have not been able to speak with him as I am unable to speak with him directly when he's represented. The council did submit an entry of appearance on November 24th, 2025, and today we received an answer. I have not had a chance to review the answer in totality to see whether or not it would change my recommendation. So this recommendation is based on all things before that answer. As it relates to failure to show impartiality, after reviewing everything before the board, I did not recommend probable cause. I will tell the board that in reviewing the law, specifically the open records. don't know if it's going to let me share it directly. So that means stop sharing this. All right, so this is the open records act, and it permits any citizen of the state to inspect public records of an agency as defined by the code. Records consisting of material obtained in investigations are prohibited, but that's only if it's records of an employee, not of a third party. And it does go on to say that records concerning public employees reveal that the public employee's home address and all those personal matters, although they are able to be retrieved, they have to be redacted for that purpose. Now, what is unclear is technically Ms. Tripp is not a public employee. And technically, she was not applying for a job within the county. The Board of Ethics is an application process that you all went through, the background check, because that is the procedure in which you get on the board, but it's not technically an application. Because the government or the county is the government and houses these records, it is only to be assumed that these records are able to be retrieved by way of the Open Records Act, because they are held by a government entity who is subject to the Open Records Act. So Mr. Morris did submit that open records, and that is how he obtained the documents that came before the board in regards to the application. Any questions about that statute?
So the question I have is in regards to the redaction of her personal information, was that completed?
Do believe that things like the address was completed, but her name wasn't obviously still there. And then things about like her resume or her skills that are required, all of that accompanied as well.
What day did he request that? The date?
He requested that on
Pull it up for you.
This was a 901.
I don't think it was redacted.
It was-
I don't think it was redacted. Yeah, I don't think it was.
the address.
Because I remember reading too much information, I felt like.
Looking at it, the address is redacted, the
Social security number or anything like that, yeah, the personal.
yeah, I don't see social on here, but there's definitely redaction. Let me share it with the board.
I think we have it. If I get Gloria to maybe print us a copy.
Guess my question is, was that a working day he requested that? 'Cause it was 9:01 AM, so it was on county time. He was doing that. And you're a county employee.
That's true.
I mean, that's my question to this.
November the 6th.
That would have been on a Thursday. He was at work on county clocked in time, so I'm sure he starts at 8 or 9 o'clock.
Does he get time to
Right.
state that he is a county employee?
That's up to,
My question is how how did he come to know
That was
the
what I.
made application? Because that isn't public information. And so someone who received that application knew to inform him. So the question for me is not his open records request, but how did he come to know to request one? That's it.
on county time.
So it the request. And if you gotta read it from the bottom to the top, so you'll see that the request was open, it was sent, you, very detailed, you see when it was delivered, you see when the documents were released, you can see when it was closed, so. It was open on November the sixth at 9:01. Documents were sent on November the tenth. Now, when it comes to the, I don't really want to go into the applications themselves, but there were redactions.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't put this, just, is it safe? Yeah, I don't know if we want to put this online. Is it? Yeah, I don't want to see that up there.
So there were redactions
Okay.
within the document.
He can just print a copy of the things.
Yeah.
They can come back to them.
Other question?
So we don't yet know how he came to know that she put an application.
That
We
was
do
my
not.
biggest question.
Yeah,
And based on that,
he's come to know.
that is that question that I had. I do not believe that he obtained the information. And that's why I reached out to him as well, because he is entitled to get that information through the open records request. There's no question of that. Question of inquiry is, how did he know to, and did he misuse his position in order to
Obtain.
obtain it correct?
And was there an unlawful disclosure of information?
Says,
And who would have disclosed?
That's the
that
point,
information?
because that's the unlawful party.
did he just ask a general question? Because it says 27 other applicants or something?
It said all applications between that time frame. So he asked for not a specific application, he asked for a time frame. So as it relates to failure to show impartiality, that is the code before you all. I do not recommend probable cause under this particular code. I do not see this to fall within those parameters. As it relates to disclosure / use of confidential information, I can't recommend probable cause for this because he lawfully obtained it through the open records. Now, there's still a question of how he got that information. And because of that, I do recommend probable cause on misuse of position.
I agree.
Well, I guess my question would be, is he allowed time to get his case ready
What do you mean?
by the government rules and regulations, since if government employee is suing him or filing against him, do they give him time to get his case ready? Because they give him time to come to court, so do they give him time to get his case ready?
Oh, so you're saying while he's filing this during work time?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Okay, my preliminary recommendation had nothing to do with him filing during the time of work. I actually honestly did not even think about that until board member Craig said it. It was solely based on how he got information himself as the director. Is he using information or using his position to obtain information he should not otherwise have? How did he even know to request this information?
Are we ready to make motions for this particular?
That concludes my presentation in regards to this matter.
I have a question.
Yes.
So the time frame that he selected, is there any significance to that time frame?
The significance is that is the time frame in which Ms. Tripp applied.
Right, so let me ask my question again. What's the time frame as far as the existence of the board, as far as applications?
Oh, okay.
How long, what would have been the time frame to get all the applications?
The board began in, I believe, sworn in January of 2022.
Okay.
I was not here yet, so take that with a grain of salt. I was hired after the board started. But I believe it's January 2022.
Okay, so it could have been really broad as far as his request.
It could have been.
What is request dates? Requested dates?
It was June 1st to July 31st.
June 1st to July 2025, so for 1 month. Applications, we'll get our ethics administrator to answer this question on application due date, or do you know?
I don't know.
Okay, we'll Once she's back in, we'll get her to answer some of those questions about the application.
Now, while I don't know the application due date, I do know, from speaking with the administrator that Ms. Tripp specifically put in her application after the close, so she never saw it.
Okay, so I have some very, very specific questions. Thank you. Lori, I think Dr. Brown may have some questions. I have a few as well.
Oh, you can go.
You sure?
Good.
So my question is, during the period of June, was it June or July? June 1st through the 31st of July. July 31st, 2025. How many applications did we receive? You remember that? Because let me ask you this, the due date for applications to be received was what date?
So, I mean, we really didn't have a due date because the ad is consistently running. Because we always like to, I like to keep enough applications in there. So Chair McLean resigned on 7/3. And that same day, that same morning, I went ahead and signed on to NeoGov, which is the website that hosts all of the applications. There was a pool of 32 applicants that I pulled from. And that was that same morning that he received his resignation. I emailed those applicants that same day at 4:24 in the afternoon.
When did we receive Mrs. Tripp's application?
So Ms. Tripp, after I found out at the hearing that she had applied, so the board wanted to know what day her application came in. Her application did not come in until July 22nd. So I didn't even see her application until after everything had already, because let's see, the interviews were 9/18, but everything was already emailed to the DA's office. I had already verified addresses and districts with the Board of Elections on July 3rd. That same day, everything was pretty much July 3rd. Everything was already verified for all the 32 applicants that I had already pulled. So she put her application in after all of that process was already done. So I didn't even know that Ms. Tripp had applied until the day of the hearing when her application was submitted by Mr. Morris. And I don't even print the applications when I go into NeoGov. All I do is write down addresses, because that's how I verify with the Board of Elections who lives in the district that we were looking for, which was District 5. So I don't even include names to the DA's office until the verification has come back from the Board of Elections, like, hey, these are the addresses that are in the district that you're looking for. And so once those districts are verified, then I pull, and I think, let me see, I'm sorry. It looks like out of the 32 applicants that I pulled that day on the 3rd, only 4 applicants were actually lived in the District 5. So only 4 applicants at that point were moving on to the next stage. And those applicants
And those 4 applicants are confirmed by the elections board.
correct. They confirmed that the address that I sent in District 5.
Okay. So you didn't even narrow down the 4. They were narrowed down by the elections board. Through verification of it.
Yes.
Their addresses narrowed them down.
Yes, through verification of their districts. So we were looking for District 5 and there was only 4 applicants. And then, so on 8/7, that's when I sent out the email to let them know that, they needed to go to get drug screenings and background checks done. And once all, let's see, HR cleared them on 8/21. And so I reached out to the DA's office and to schedule the interviews with the grand jury. And those were scheduled for 9/18 at 11 a.m. So we don't have any, like, nobody gets the applications. Like, I do not even print the applications. The only thing I did was once those 4 applicants, and I think it ended up only being 3 applicants that interviewed because 1 applicant never responded. So once that happens, I reach out to the DA's office and ask her, hey, what days do you have available for them to interview with the grand jury? She sent me dates. 9/18 was the date. And I sent her via email the 3 applications, send those to her because she provides those to the grand jury. Once the grand jury is done interviewing, those applications get taken up and they get shredded.
I have a question. From the January 1st, 2025 to July 31st, how many applications was pulled?
They got 27.
7.
It was from June.
Yes.
I'm sorry, from June.
I think the complainant mentioned in their complaint, the issue they have is that their last name Harrell, and I don't know if they pronounce it, I say Harrell, but Harrell. That's the only place their last name appears, meaning they don't use it in real life. In work or friends, they don't introduce themselves by Harold Tripp or Harrell Tripp. They only say Tripp. And so that was their concern, is how did this respondent even know their last name to begin with? Which is obviously it came to light. They had access to this application. And so they were wondering why would they know to look for them? And why would they know their last name is Harrell if they never use that name in everyday living and working?
And just to clarify, this is essentially these applications it's a rolling application.
Correct. So all the applications that are in there, they stay in there. Once this application process happened for District 5, like, the applications will just sit in there. They just sit in whatever the system, NeoGov. So, yes, sir.
Okay, continue.
So, I mean, all the applications, all of your applications are in. Everybody that's ever applied to the Board of Ethics application are sitting in there.
Ask your question. Would you know if she applied more than once?
I only saw her one time.
One time?
Yes.
Okay.
I did look through Mr. Tripp's HR file that was given to me. I don't know if this totality of the file, but based on the file that was given to me, her name doesn't appear anywhere within his personal file. Now, if it appears somewhere within that file, it wasn't provided to me when I asked for a copy of his whole file. But based on what I have, it doesn't appear within his file.
So you're saying it's Harrell, but could it possibly be Tripp?
No, what she's saying is, in Mr. Tripp's file, any mention of his wife only calls her Mrs. Tripp. At no point does he call her Mrs. Harrell Tripp. So Mrs. Harrell Tripp is trying to understand how one know that his wife's last name, maiden name, is Harrell or Harrell. That's her concern.
But the last name is Tripp.
Her last name,
Case is Tripp.
that's not her question. Her question is, so the first dismissal request was based on my last name. My sharing, one of the very first questions the respondent asked as we opened our first hearing into this case was, are you related? Do you know each other, or are you related? Meaning,
What date was that?
what hearing date was the first hearing date for Mr. Morris?
October the
29th? Was it
October
29th?
29th? Okay.
So I think that was the first, the question was about, when her name first came up in relation to my name and if there was any relation to myself. And obviously the answer is no, we're not in any way related. But because her name came up, I think it perhaps must have upset her, which is why she filed the complaint. Because I think, I don't know, I can't speak from her perspective, but we seem to have gotten the complaint once she was mentioned during the hearing process. So I can't speak to why she signed it.
Any other questions? We just.
The vice chair has questions.
As a, you know, for me, there's no probable cause on the first two, 10 and 7, and then we get to misuse of a position, but he's done everything legally up to this point. And he asked for this broad range of information. He did not call her name, did not seek her individually. I'm not inclined to see probable cause in that way. In this particular case, that would be my holdup on it.
I have a question then. So the inquiry was the relation to the chair or last name. Somehow they must have received that information to make that inquiry.
I have no doubts about that, but we're talking about him. If somebody gave it to him arbitrarily and we don't know who that person is that necessarily on him is the question? Or is it on the person that gave it to him?
Was there an unlawful act on the person giving the information, not the person receiving?
Well, that's a good point because.
Because of his director position.
I think that,
Wait, sorry. Because the only way you can flush that out, because somebody gave him that information, is to move forward.
I got
It's the only way you can flush it out.
and that's what I was gonna say, I think we have enough to get to probable cause. Remember, the burden for probable cause is real low. You just gotta have just enough. And I think we have just enough to say that something wasn't done on the up and up. Now, what that ends up being on the back end is a whole nother conversation. But I think probable cause,
So the question though, is the probable cause being requested on the right party?
We won't know that.
and I think that's the problem is I think that without, I think we have probable cause on him. Whether or not we can get beyond probable cause, that's another question. But I think we have probable cause on him.
And just so the board knows, that was why I reached out to Mr. Morris, because I had the same inquiries to board. And that would have determined my recommendation. And unfortunately, no fault of his own. I mean, when you get counsel,
Yeah.
I have no doubt I'll be able to get the answer to that question in the future. But as we sit here today, having to have this preliminary investigation, I don't have the answer. And I think that answer determines whether or not there was a violation.
That would have been helpful.
That would have been helpful.
I'm sorry. Did you say the answer would have clarified the inquiry?
The answer could have clarified the inquiry of whether or not there was a misuse of position, or not whether there was a misuse, because that's more of a formal, but if I believe there was probable cause. Right now, I believe there is probable cause because I don't have that answer.
Because I guess the question goes to, if we had the answer or an understanding, the question is, did Mr. Morris seek the information? Or was the information relayed to him without him seeking? If he didn't seek the information, then he didn't use his position to gather the information. Someone shared something that they should not have shared, but not at his request. And we don't know if he requested or not. And that's what we had hoped to find out, so we could maybe clear this up tonight.
I'm not sure. I agree with.
I agree. I understand.
And the reason I'm saying that is because,
No, I understand what you're saying too. I do.
okay. Yeah, because if it was just an average employee, would they have access to that information? Just the average employee.
Through,
Open records express.
No, I'm saying
I know what you're saying.
you're thinking open record, but you have no clue what's in the open record. So would somebody come to you and say, hey, you need to
I see what
submit?
you're saying. Somebody prompted him.
Exactly.
Because did he ask for the applications for just the Board of Ethics? Or did he ask for applications for Henry County employment opportunities available during that time period? And if he was very specific about which department, how did he know which department to ask for those applications? How did he obtain the information to seek to request the open records request?
And the question then again is, if you get that information, what do you do with it?
Well, I think there's still another possibility. The husband works there, and it's obvious that he was friends with several of the supervisors. So he could have told one of them his wife applied.
I did speak with the husband because I thought about that too, and he did indicate that he did not have any conversations regarding any employees. During this time, Mr. Tripp's first complaint has been pending for quite some time, so he really doesn't speak about his personal life to anyone. The one individual that he would speak to is no longer a county employee. But I did ask that question, had he disclosed to anybody in the county that his wife may have applied? And if I remember correctly, please don't hold my feet to the fire. When I first called him to inquire, I don't believe he knew his wife had applied to the Board of Ethics. He indicated to me that he was unaware that she had applied. And then when I spoke with her in regards to her application, she indicated that obviously her husband was a Henry County employee. He had been going through some things. She's a citizen. She wanted to see change. So yes, she saw application or the opening. She wanted to apply.
Which in itself would have voided her application technically, because she can't be related to a Henry County employee and sit on this board.
So who would have access to her application as far as the improper disclosure of it?
HR, my knowledge, and Gloria, please correct me if I'm wrong, is the only people that have access to that NeoGov. I don't even have access to it.
As far as I know, just HR.
And that's the second part of that's the second party, correct? Because it's more to BD.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Would anyone like to put a motion in? Can we see the complaint and start from the top, recommendations? Because we have the misuse of position. We have also disclosure. There you go. Yep, no, I'm sorry. The next slide, there we are. We'll just go one by one and do a motion if that's okay, instead of the totality of the actual cases. So would anyone like to make a motion as it relates to failure to show impartiality in performing official duty? As it relates to case 2025 EB 15, Tamara Harrell Tripp versus Scott Morris, and to be determined human resources employee.
I make the motion to dismiss for no probable cause, failure to show impartiality in performing official duties in case 2025 EB 15.
Second.
All in favor? As it relates to, let's see what our next one is. As it relates to a case file 2025 EB 15, Tamara Harrell Tripp versus Scott Morris, and to be determined human resources employee. The disclosure/use of confidential information. Can I get a motion on the floor?
A motion to dismiss SB 22 section 7.1 for no probable cause.
All in favor? And as it relates to case EB 2025 EB 15, Tamara Harrell, Tripp versus Scott Mars and to be determined human resources employee as it relates to misuse of position. How does the vote, anyone wants to make a motion on this particular? Someone wants a motion?
In regards to
2025,
2025
15.
EB 15, motion that we find probable cause.
All in favor?
Second.
I'm sorry, a second. Can I get a second?
I second.
A second motion? All in favor? Please. Yeah, we're split down the middle with Dr. Pike breaking the tie.
I said yes.
You say yes?
Says what?
You say yes?
He says yes. Yes.
Who's opposed?
I'm not gonna lie, I hate to move forward, but we have to get the bottom of it. Yes. I was gonna say. We don't do it. That's it. This is not tonight.
The next case before the board is Benjamin Tripp versus Scott Morris and to be determined human resource employee 2025 EB 16. This is a very similar complaint to the last one as you all just heard. The only difference is this complaint is brought by Mr. Tripp instead of Mrs. Tripp. The allegations for Mr. Tripp is disclosure / use of confidential information and misuse of position. The complaint's allegations is that Mr. Tripp or Mr. Morris obtained access to Mr. Tripp's personnel file in order to access sensitive information about his wife for his personal gain. The complainant questions the validity of how Mr. Morris got this information in general, how it was released to him and the use of his wife's application relates to the Board of Ethics. I reviewed the exact same thing. I did review the Georgia Open Records Act, the Georgia Privacy Act, as well as Henry County Public Records Request. I made the same findings as you all saw before. Time frame was the same, June 1st, July 31st. This told me how he got the information. Mr. Tripp, one of his concerns was that he possibly got some information from his personnel file. But based on what I can see that I have of his personnel file, there's nothing that mentioned Mrs. Tripp. So we now know that he got that information through open records. Again, I did reach out to Mr. Morris to discuss, but I was unable to do so. The necessary inquiry is the exact same one as the prior case. How is the information regarding Mrs. Tripp applying to the board of ethics acquiesce? Now, the reason that for this, I'm still, even though Mr. Tripp only brought up his personnel file, he did generally bring up how is the information received. I know I have some of Mr. Tripp's file, but in this matter, I have a recommendation for same thing, no probable cause for the disclosure. But I do have a recommendation of probable cause of misuse. And I will tell you, the difference is, even though he mentioned his personnel file, one thing that I discovered in our last hearing is I requested Mr. Tripp's personnel file. Mr. Morris requested Mr. Tripp's personnel file. We both requested the files for use of evidence in the last hearing. The information that Mr. Morris received is not the exact same information I received. So when you hear me mention the fact that the personnel file I have does not have Mr. Tripp's wife information within that file, I can't say with surety that there is other information with that file that has her name. And it goes back to that same question as 2025 EB 15 of how did he get this information? Did it possibly come from the file that someone at HR saw and gave him the information after seeing her name in his file and then seeing her name on the application? Yes,
How did you know that there's a difference in files?
because we exchange evidence.
Oh,
Is that evidence shared with the board? Was it shared with the board?
Some of it, no, it was admitted to the board, because we stipulated that all evidence at the beginning of that hearing. So all was admitted.
In the binder.
So it hit both files that the file you received as well as the file Mr. Morris received, both those files are in the evidence.
Correct.
Okay.
So if you notice, you will see that my HR file that I requested from Mr. Tripp is like this. And the one that Mr. Morris requested is more like this. It's more.
And so that's what he received from HR though.
I am going to presume because he gave it to, I saw the request to HR for a copy of the file and he gave that to me. So I am presuming I would not know without further inquiry.
Was your request worded the same as Mr. Morris's request?
I don't know if they were worded exactly the same.
Okay, because could he have asked for something you might not have asked for? Or known to ask for?
Could that have been a possibility? It could be because I can't confirm, but I do know I asked for his whole file.
And
Now, for the record, we cannot review that evidence because we can't touch that until we go
Correct.
back into hearing. So I'm
But
sorry. we can't.
I wanted the board to know the justification of my recommendation for a probable cause on the misuse of position.
Makes sense.
now I lost my train of thought. Don't come back.
let me see if I understand. So he received the file, but he was bound to present it to you, correct? So if that's the case, then you have the information.
I have information that he requested, which is different from information that I requested.
So,
I understand.
yeah, they asked for the same, perhaps the same thing, receiving different files.
I remember my question. Is it possible to, it's an open request of an open request, but is it possible to get to confirm that that is what they gave him? So like make an open request of what they actually gave him.
Yes,
And in this investigation, have you done that?
no,
But if they didn't give it to him, why would he share it with her?
No, he has to give it to her. What I was asking was if she could request what they gave him
Yeah.
so that she can confirm that what he gave her in the hearing process is actually what was given to him versus him getting that information from somewhere else and supplementing it.
Okay, I understood what you said, but I'm saying if he got it from an illegal means, it wouldn't make sense for him to share it with her.
It wouldn't be illegal. He's his director, so he would have access to that.
He would have access to it, but he still shared it with her in discovery.
you would have to share it with me if you wanted to use
If
it.
he wants to, use it, yeah, you have to share it. If to use it, it has to be shared. So, and that's also not in anticipation of a subsequent complaint being filed. So when he's sharing it, he's not anticipating that there's gonna be another complaint filed.
So when was he made aware that he had to share that information?
There isn't the rules and procedures.
Yeah, you have to share.
Yeah, so he already knew he had to share. I don't know when he read the rules. I know he did read the rules because he told me he read the rules and procedures, but he knew we had to exchange information.
And one more question for me.
That's the rule of law.
And when did he make the decision to represent himself? Or the parties?
What do you mean?
He's representing he
Announce himself.
No.
In the beginning.
On behalf of the parties when he's speaking, but he doesn't represent the parties.
he represents himself?
He represents himself.
Okay, when did he make the decision to represent himself?
The day he decided not to hire counsel, we didn't get counsel entry until
November 24th.
November 24th?
November 24th on this case.
Yes.
We got entry in the prior case on for another date. But I want the board to make sure we are separating the cases as it relates to this case and this case only, and the facts of this case. The only concern and inquiry is if he misused his position in any way as it relates to Mr. Tripp's HR file. And that is, at this point in time, a question still to be asked.
And I'm gonna be honest with you, I wanted to continue both these new complaints. I really did. I did not want them to be heard until we finish the other hearing because I don't want any false evidence. But because we received an answer from counsel, then we now have to. But I really didn't want to touch these until we got done with the first hearing so that we're not clouding anyone's judgment.
I understand. One other question, just so I can finish up with these dates. When did he request the file?
It was November the 6th.
Okay, so he requested the file before he knew.
You said the open records or HR file?
The HR file.
It may have been, I don't have an exact date, but I recall seeing an email. It may have been about 2 weeks before the hearing. He sent an email to HR indicating he was getting ready for his hearing and he needed specific documents as it relates to Mr. Tripp.
I have one other question. He is in Mr. Tripp's chain of command, correct?
Correct. He is the director.
So most of the time, the chain of command has access to personnel records. So he could have looked through the file himself. He had just written them up. So he had to put that information in the personnel record. So he could have looked through the record.
I don't know if he actually had the access because he did send an email to HR as if he did not have access requesting the information.
Well,
I would think if he had access, he wouldn't have sent the email.
Okay, well,
I'm sure he has some limited access because I don't know, but being in the positions that I was in as in the chain of command of somebody, you normally have some limited access to a person, to a
well,
personnel file.
that leads to another question. Is it electronic or hard copy files?
Trying to.
So if there's there's a possibility that's true.
If there is a hard copy system that the county has, I don't know about it, but everything that is sent to me upon request is always done electronic.
Yeah, because you would have access if it's electronic.
So you're supporting this personnel file. Well, maybe not everything, but you do have a whole lot of access to it. I know what I did in the federal government. I had a.
Yeah, that's why I was.
That's
electronic.
Yes, that then brings me to another question though. Having access to it as a supervisor, does that then give him the ability to use it in this capacity without doing it as a open records request? Does that make sense?
It
Yes,
does
it
make
does.
sense. That is a very valid question because that will go directly to whether or not there was a misuse of position.
But if you have access, why would it be a misuse of position?
Mr. Knight.
We don't know. At this stage, we're not making that determination. We're only trying to determine probable cause, whether or not we should look into it. That will be a question more warranted for a formal hearing.
I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Is the inquiry on his file or the fact that they're able to access his spouse's information?
The inquiry is on that his file was used to access his wife's information. Specifically, said I am writing to formally raise concerns regarding the conduct of Mr. Scott Morris. It has come to my attention that Mr. Morris may have attempted to obtain my personal file in order to access sensitive information about me, including my wife's name for his own personal gain.
So define personal file, because as his direct chain of command, in his direct chain of command, he will have access to his personal file, I guess, to the degree.
Yeah.
And so is that why we're separating the two complaints and not joining them as one?
We're
Because
separating them because they filed them separate. So
I get it, but we typically, when they file, when we've had multiple complaints for the same reasons against the same person, we've in the past combined them.
we've only combined them after the finding of probable cause. So
Okay.
based on how this board determines whether or not there are probable cause on each of those will determine if I request the board to consult.
Because my only concern is with the difference is Mrs. Tripp being a non-county employee versus Mr. Tripp being a county employee. They have to be seen as separate because he does have access to his file just by nature of his position.
And,
And I guess the extent of the file is the question.
Right.
And I-
That's what was gonna say.
and I
To what
think-
extent?
if you have access to the file and you have information and you present the open records, then you're doing it correctly.
Correct. So in other words, question two, can I piggyback, do you mind? If he submit the open records request and they give him the HR file, which is very similar in size to yours, or probably the exact. If he were to supplement, because he is in his direct chain of command, the additional files, is that a violation? That's not an issue, is it?
Well, that was what I was asking. That's what I was asking earlier, was if that then creates an issue, if he.
Because even if, well, I guess to the extent of the type of files, how much more information he wants, but technically he can request those just
Yeah.
by nature of his position.
Exactly.
Open records?
I
Or
mean,
you're saying
any
as an
additional,
employer, he can
yeah,
request
as
it.
any additional information about an employee that's literally under his direct supervision in some way, or.
And
Yeah, but to what extent though? You know, like, is there a,
no.
And we can't really go.
a limit on what he is able to see, view, and have access to? Or is it that whatever is in his personal file, he can get access to? That's the question, I think.
Mine was more of how he can use that information as opposed to what's in it. I would think that he can see all of it versus, I would think he can see all of it, but using it for the purpose of
So,
Okay.
his job versus
Yeah.
asking for a dismissal for personal gain, I would think those are two different
Right.
ways.
Okay.
That is the inquiry that I had. I mean, it's very similar to, if someone, a real life example, have access to billions. If you have the access to it, you could do it.
Mhm.
But if you're doing it for your own personal gain, then that switches of whether or not that's misuse of why you did it.
But in this particular case, he is defending himself. So is it personal gain? Because you have to use the information you have.
Him defending himself, in my view, does not negate that it still could be used for personal gain, because if he was to use it properly, he should have submitted a request through open records. That would have been done possibly. And I say possible because we're at probable cause, so a lot of this is unknown and we have many questions that still need to be sought out.
Oh, so you're saying there was no open record?
Not for his personnel file.
Oh. Okay.
That was what I was.
That's where that's where I was confused.
For his
So-
personnel file.
The information that received, I view, he's email agent requesting Mr. Tripp's
Yeah.
HR file
Okay.
So he did request it.
You can.
via email, but the proper channel would have been an open records for
To use it in the case.
to use it
In the case, yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So So there's still some things that need to, unpack. And that doesn't go to say that after the formal investigation, the recommendation doesn't change. After I'm able to speak with Mr. Morris and get some clarity in. But as of now, there's still a lot of questions, that in regard to Mr. Tripp's personal files. And one of those questions is, what does Mr. Tripp mean when he say personal file? Does he mean personnel file? Or is he just saying, you know, something that's internal within the department? Any other questions? Your cases will give you a lot of headaches. Second, I'm putting it on top, I'm not gonna stick it in my hand. No. Yeah,
She's ready.
since 4 o'clock. Okay, are we ready for, we're missing a board member. Let me, there he is. I'm sorry. It was choking earlier, y'all. Okay. As it relates to, is the board ready to make, decisions on probable cause for EP 2025, EP 16? Yes, sir.
Was this the only one that we're voting on, or is there more?
It's two, disclosure, / use of confidential information and misuse of position.
We're just doing the one right now, and we're not going over the other?
What do you mean?
We already did?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. I'm good, thank you.
Okay, let's go to the first. You want to make a motion, sir?
Which one is this one?
Disclosure, use of confidential information.
I'll make a motion on, EB, 2025, EB 16. Find no probable cause.
A second.
All in favor? It's unanimous.
What I do?
We'll talk. As it relates to 2025 EP 16, Mr. Benjamin Tripp versus Scott Morris, and to be determined human resources employee, and the recommendation for misuse of position. Is there a motion the board would like to make?
I make a motion to finding probable cause in 2025 EB 16.
Is there a second?
I'm sorry, misuse of position SB 2022, section 7.1, subsection C, subsection 4.
One second.
Jeez. All in favor? As it relates to our next probable cause hearing, we have Smith versus Terrell, 2025 EB 17. The board does have jurisdiction as Harrell is the Erie County Commission Chair. Allegations alleged is engaging activity and prohibited by law and inappropriate conduct by a member of the Board of Commissioners. The factual allegations involve the use of Chair Harrell directing the county attorney and the county manager to advise county employees to disregard lawful subpoenas issued by the Henry County Board of Ethics. According to the complainant advised that this was a result of the retaliation against the Henry County Board of Ethics for removing her friend / godson's mother, Benita Harris, from the Board of Ethics. I did review several things in that regard. I reviewed in the email from the county attorney, Rachel Matt, regarding the subpoenas. I reviewed Senate bill. I also reviewed the hearing, although I was there just to make sure I went back and heard and listened to what was actually said or done. Just some background information regarding preliminary investigation on October 29th, the matters of 2025 EB 5 and 2025 EB 13, which was consolidated for efficiency purposes. They did come before the board for a final hearing. On October the 30th, after the first day of that final hearing, the board did receive a letter from the county attorney with concerns regarding the witness fees when subpoenaing their witnesses. If the board is kind of hard to see, it's also included in your package, but the specific indication was that there was concern that the department employees were being subpoenaed and weren't paid witness fees. So the question from the letter did not inquire whether or not they should or could be subpoenaed, it was whether or not they had to be pay the fee in order to be subpoenaed, and if that would validate the subpoena itself. So the parties understand the concern. There are technically 3 county employees that are employees of that case in which the complainant alleged. One with Mr. Tripp, one with Mr. Morris, and one with Mr. Holland. Mr. Whitaker was no longer an employee at the time of the final hearing. I subpoenaed several people, but we're talking specifically about the Department of Transportation. I subpoenaed 4 of the Department of Transportation workers in regards to the case and needing evidence from them or for presentation to the board. The respondent subpoenaed 5 of the DOT workers, so that which he has a right to do pursuant to Senate Bill 22. He can obviously present his witnesses as well. I say that to say, based on the last census that I have of the DOT department, there's approximately 45 total employees. And so there, between the both of us, we subpoenaed probably 9 of the 45. So it wasn't necessarily the whole department.
Or even close to.
No.
Okay.
The matter was continued until November 12th, 2025, because we were unable to finish the first day. On November 12th, the board and the parties and any subpoenaed witnesses did return. They were instructed at the last hearing in October that they were to remain under subpoena and they had to return to continue and conclude that matter. It was predicted that that matter was going to be concluded on that specific day. And I believe it was also indicated that it probably was going to only take the first half of the day. After the board heard a preliminary matter, which is the motion to dismiss, but before the case could actually proceed, the ethics administrator did come into the room and did advise that per Chair Harrell, all the employees had to return to work. The hearing, I did review it. Did the board is on YouTube? Did the board need to review that part of that hearing to refresh your recollection, or are you good? Somebody needs to review it.
I'm good.
Pursuant to Senate Bill Section 1.1, subsection L, subsection 7, the Board of Ethics have the power to issue subpoenas and to compel any person to appear, give sworn testimony, or produce evidence. And any person who that fails to appear and abide by such subpoena, they are subject to penalties. In reviewing the preliminary hearing, there was an interview conducted by Chair Harrell. During that interview, she did indicate that she gave direction not only to the county manager, but also to the human resource director to send all the employees back to work because the entire transportation department had been called to testify. So she did really admit that she gave that directive. As it relates to the recommendation, engaging in activity prohibited by law, that's when any activity is engaged to that applies to a person by them being an official or an employee of Henry County. As you all know, Senate Bill 22 is law, it's codified. So by way of if there is a violation and based on probable cause, I believe there is probable cause to go forward on whether there is violation of if there has been activity prohibited or engaging in activity prohibited by law. As it relates to inappropriate conduct by a member of the Board of Commissioners, the code does say that the Board of Commissioners cannot give directives to employees who report to the county manager. Based on the preliminary investigation, it appears that Chair Harrell did tell not only the county manager, but also the HR director and instruct them to have all employees go back to work. And so based on this, I am recommending also probable cause. Any questions?
I think you answered my question, but I just want to go over, just for clarification, proper parties. There was,
Thank you.
the county attorney advised the chair to take action. Is that consequential?
We don't know, at least I say, I don't know what the county actually county attorney advised. Because the county attorney was not there on that day.
From my understanding, because the evidence was sent by the complainant, the article from the HAC. And please tell me if I'm misquoting the article, but it mentioned that the county attorney had given advice as to the subpoenas may basically not being, they don't have to essentially be respected or followed. And based on that recommendation, the assumption, and I could be wrong and misquoting, but the article read in this way, that based on what the attorney said, the attorney didn't advise them to go shut the hearing down. The attorney made a determination as it related to her opinion of the subpoenas. How they use that information was not directly an action, I think directed by the county attorney. And so, in other words, I tell you the subpoenas are unlawful. Senate Bill 22 says they are. In other words, a judge is that determining factor. And so once they interfered with the hearing, that wasn't because the attorney sent them in to interfere with the hearing. The attorney gave an opinion about subpoenas based on the way the article read. It mentioned both directive and the information presented by the attorney.
We have a copy of the article?
I have snippets. I don't have a direct.
The article, the county attorney wasn't actually interviewed herself, was she, or was that, this was just information that they were saying the county attorney says? Yeah.
This was reported to them that the county attorney said, Chair Harrell was the individual that was interviewed.
Now, the reporter did do an open records request, and they requested the letter that was sent to the board by county counsel, by the county attorney.
But all the information is still third-party information. The county attorney has not.
She can't appear before the board.
No, even with the interview.
Yeah,
She
she
was
did.
not speaking. It was someone
She
else.
wasn't speaking, correct. I think they just used a third-party interpretation as well as the letter that was sent to the Board of Ethics. And of course, our counsel responded to that letter.
Has she responded back?
No.
Again, that there was talking about retaliation and all that against.
There's this allegation that, there was a board member that was on the board at one point in time, that's no longer on the board. The complainant alleges that because that individual is no longer on the board and that individual allegedly has a relationship with the chair, that the chair is retaliating against the Board of Ethics. I will advise the board, I did not consider that in my preliminary recommendation. That was a matter that has been previously discussed. The board dismissed, there was a complaint based on that as well. And the board found that there was no probable cause to the allegation that was made on that complaint. So I did not consider that in my recommendation of this complaint.
Yeah, and just to set the record straight on that, as it relates to the former board member, I think they mentioned her by name. Is it mentioned by name somewhere in this complaint?
Yes.
I think it is Dr. Harris. Dr. Harris was nominated by Neat Robinson, and the board of commissioners voted. And Chairperson Harrell, she did not vote. She abstained from voting. So at no point did she have involvement in seating Ms. Harris on the election board. And that's why that was dismissed, because we had video evidence to support that. So there's no, yeah.
I just want to understand that piece.
Any other questions?
Is the board ready to make a motion?
I'm sorry, one more question.
Sure.
I'm reading this right here. Just so I understand. Are you saying, or is the allegation that Chair Harrell directed the county manager or the employees?
Oh. So the allegation is that she directed the county manager and HR director to direct the employees. So she directed the employees by way of directing the county manager and the HR director. Now, I believe I understand where you're going because I had the same train of thought. The chair has the authority to direct the county manager.
Not the HR.
That was not the extent of why my recommendation is probable cause, to be clear. It was directing the HR director, who is a county employee under the direct supervision of the county manager.
Okay.
And that was based on an admission that she made in her interview. Now, again, I want the board to be clear that when this was submitted for evidence, I did not read it to be factual. It's still a news article. But for purposes of probable cause, it was considered on whether or not we need to move forward to find out more information. Because it specifically says that she said she directed the county manager and HR director.
But she has,
According to the article. Yeah.
right, I was just,
So did Mr. Reed Williams just get himself?
yeah, based on the,
Yeah, he did. He just inserted himself.
The person that wrote the article.
He surely did.
but she said that she told him to go back to, to work, because.
According to his article, so we'll know for sure. Any additional questions? Is there a motion on the floor? Let's start with them individually, please. As it relates to, is this the first complaint?
I make a motion to find probable cause for engaging in activity as prohibited by law, SB 22, section 7.1C7.
Second.
All in favor? What's your vote? It's unanimous. Is there a motion on the floor for the second?
I make a motion to find probable cause for SB 22, section 7.1, subsection C.1 for 2025 EB 17.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
As it relates to 2025 EB 18, Bell versus Canty. This is against Nyla Canty, who is a Henry County police officer, so we do have personal jurisdiction. The allegation is that Ms. Canty failed to show impartiality in performing her official duties. The basis of this is that there was an accident that occurred, a motor vehicle accident on July 10th. The complainant said that while Ms. Canty was investigating the accident, she didn't do so in a fair and impartial way. At the time of the accident, the complainant was injured and she was receiving medical and treatment, but the officer failed to obtain a statement at the scene or make arrangements to collect any information from the complainant at any time, including after medical treatment was rendered. The complainant alleges that Officer Canty relied on just the statements of the other driver and another witnesses after following a discussion with them to determine what appears to be who was at fault. And at that time, the complainant remained in the ambulance and Officer Canty just issued a citation against the complainant without getting her side of the story. When the complainant questioned Ms. Canty as to why they did not have the statement taken down, the Ms. Canty said that another officer had already taken the statement, so she did not need to do so. And then that she asserts that the statement that was taken or that was stated by Ms. Canty was not true or accurate because nobody else had interviewed her to take the statement. The complainant went on to indicate that even after Officer Canty was informed that nobody had taken her statement, that the citation went forward without any account of what the side of the complainant would have did. And that denied the complainant the fair and equal opportunity to present their version of events before being issued a citation. And that there was new independent witnesses that further has information that will contradict whatever the crash report said at the time. As it relates to failure to show impartiality in performing official duties, recommend that we have no subject matter jurisdiction. This is not a violation or within the scheme and scope of what failure to show impartiality means pursuant to the code. I believe that the complainant is just generally talking about they didn't or indicating that they didn't say something or investigate fairly, but that's not pursuant to the code of how it's defined. So I recommend dismissal based on no subject matter jurisdiction. I will advise the board too, that just as, even though we don't have any subject matter jurisdiction, this incident is already being investigated by internal affairs, and I would have recommended that to the complainant anyways, to take it to them so they can look into it further, but it is being investigated.
So that means that it hasn't been resolved by the courts at this point?
It's not with the courts, it's being investigated by internal affairs of the police department of whether or not Officer Canty.
Follow procedure.
I'm sorry?
Follow procedure.
Yes, correct, in the investigations. Their internal investigation.
There's a question. So is this not a case that would go before some municipality court?
On her citation, she can always dispute the citation. She can go to court on citation, argue her side. That individual could even supplement. She could go down, write her own statement. There's several options that are available for the individual. But as it relates to this option through the Board of Ethics, it just doesn't fit within our subject matter jurisdiction.
It's more of an HR thing because she's alleging she didn't do her job, basically, is what she's saying. That's what
It
be my
appears that
intention.
she's alleging that the proper procedure was
Yeah,
not followed. I don't know if that would be a HR or if that's more of an internal police, if they have certain procedures when investigating they're supposed to do.
it appears that it went through HR if it's at internal affairs. They probably just referred it on to internal affairs for investigation because it was a violation of her position. So they're just looking into it to see if she actually violated her position. If it's at internal affairs.
It is.
I make a motion to dismiss for no subject matter jurisdiction. For 2025 EV 18.
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah, that concludes all the probable cause hearings. Your permission, I am ready to move forward to the disclosure. You have a disclosure, I call it a disclosure / advisory opinion, because even though it's a disclosure, they are asking for the board's opinion. And this is in regards to Lindsay McGarry. The matter concerns Mr. McGarry's ownership of McGarry Family Leasing LLC. That is a family-owned company that owns property that's located right off of John Franklin Ward Boulevard and Turner Street. There is a new probate court that is being built by the county, and the county seeks to acquire the property that is right beside where this new probate court is going to be, so that they could have additional parking and office space for that probate court. It is directly adjacent, and you have a diagram in your package of where it is situated specifically. Wholesale value of the property is approximately 2.2 million, from which Mr. McGarity would directly benefit from. And just so the board can understand, because I can't remember whether I put it in the presentation or not, Mr. McGarity is on the Water Authority Board, which is why this disclosure is coming before you all. Mr. McGarity, by way and through the attorney, has requested advice from the Board of Ethics. He wants to be able to proceed in that contract to sell that land on behalf of the family's company. He is seeking not only to disclose that he is part of the family's company and would directly benefit, but he also wants to get the advice from the county as to whether or not it would be a violation of Senate Bill 22. The reason being is Senate Bill 22 does prohibit the sale of the county of entering into any contract for goods or services with any employee unless it falls within certain exceptions. One of the exceptions that they contend is not, well, as they contend is that would apply to this case, is the fact that the property is directly situated to where the probate court is being used and built, and there's no other property that the county could acquire to be able to provide parking space for that probate court. The request asserts that the exception does apply and that it is so uniquely situated that it will fall under what we call own source rules. Accordingly, the board is tasked to give an opinion on whether or not this would fall in the exception of Senate Bill 22 as it relates to being able to enter into a contract regarding property with the county.
Do you have a diagram of the building
In color,
in color?
because this is blue, red.
But we can't see color. So red is county owned, blue is security leasing, just for reference. Promise.
Let me see these. Okay, thank you.
Everybody, we're good. I think we're good with the diagram.
Might need to keep it up a couple of
You can take it down. Yes, everyone okay?
Yeah, that is all as it relates to the disclosure, the board, sorry, at this point is to discuss and assign whether or not it will be a violation of the code of ethics.
And can we get to? Right, as it relates to services and unique situations with the county, sales and services. So you can bring that up to review. As it relates to real estate.
This is the code section that directly relates to the disclosure. As you can see, on F, paragraph 2, Perry County should not enter into any contract involving services or property with an official or an employee of the county or with a business in which the official or employee of the county has an interest unless one of those exceptions apply. The exception that is being alleged is the exception of the contracts for services enter into with a business, which is the only available source of goods or services. And I'm just scrolling down to see if there is, no.
What's housed in the red building, in the property outlined in red? What county building is that? And is it coming down to use the
Based on
entire
the
property?
disclosure, it appears that's gonna be the new probate court building.
Is it gonna incorporate both properties, the blue and the red?
If the contract goes through, the blue will then become the county, which will yet be red.
Both combined properties will be the new probate court.
Right, and if I understand correctly, that building, if you're familiar with Huron County, is the OVP. And that's what building that is.
Just one question for me. Do we know how long, they've owned the properties?
I do not know how long they've known on those properties.
There are additional questions as we all read through the information. Is anyone here opposed to the sale? Or find that they're in violation uh, by selling to the county and him sitting on the water authority board?
Right. Water authority.
Oh. Yeah, not, no, I do not, but I just think for clarification that the language needs to be clear. There is no exception per se. It's the exemption that's allowed in the Senate bill.
In other words, he is the owner of that property and uniquely so. And so he is the only available source if they want access to that particular property, which is the reason why
Yes.
he submitted this for clearance for that. Yeah, I would cite that reason as well. Yep.
Yeah, right here, it says property is exempt from Senate Bill 22. It's not exempt. It's within the allowance of Senate Bill 22. It's allowed, but it's not exempt.
Yeah, our reasons why may differ from his opinion.
Yeah.
But our reason why to say yes could be for good reason,
Mhm.
not his particular reason. Is anyone opposed? I think we're fine. I think the opinion of the board is that we're fine with it. Am I correct?
As long as the language reads according to the section that we outlined.
I don't think there's gonna be language in the
It's just the
contract.
contract
Yeah, it's just a
before the
sales
board.
contract. That contract doesn't,
Sorry.
so a purchase and sale agreement?
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
Yes.
That's
I'm
just,
talking about the opinion. I'm talking about the opinion.
Oh, the opinion, yes.
The opinion.
It will cite the reason why.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My apologies. Before executive session.
Sorry. Wait a minute. You gotta change that motion if you want them to stay.
I don't want them to.
Okay. I'll make sure.
I don't actually, but I get what you're saying.
Okay.
Um. So all in favor? We have a motion and a second. All in favor of going to executive session? Right. If the board could follow me? Is your door unlocked? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, he's gonna pause for Right, can someone motion this down?
I motion we come out of executive session.
Second.
All in favor? Who would like to make a motion to adjourn?
I make the motion to adjourn for the evening.
I second.
All in favor? Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Please don't forget